Hey there viewers, and welcome back to the Self-Made Auto Channel. We're sitting inside a 1999 Chevrolet Tahoe. I don't know what engine's in it, 5.0 or 5.7, one of the two probably. Sound like a V8. And customer complaint is right here. Get you up to speed so you know what I know. This is the note that was left in the car. And it says car idles very fast when it warms up. Seems to be missing also. New throttle position sensor, new idle valve, and new plugs. So now you know as much as I know. I did start up, just pulled it from the parking spot, zipped it around here all zippy zap. It was idling rough, I would say, but it didn't sound like a misfire. Felt more like, you know, maybe bad engine mount, that kind of like felt vibration, but you know, I could be wrong there. Money light was on, and it did flare up about 2,000 RPMs and kind of held there for a while before it came back down, but according to this note, it idles very fast when it warms up. So I'm going to get pulled up on a scan tool. We'll see if we have any data. Oops. You know why it's not auto IDing? Because you didn't plug it in, you ding dong. Jeez. I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed, am I? Hey, look at that. Now it's going to work. So as soon as the tool lights up, we'll get her ID'd. See if we can get some direction from the engine light or whatever. So I've gone ahead and put the vehicle info in. We go to diagnose. We'll just go right to the ECM. See what codes are stored in it. Say the engine light was on when I drove it in. Unable to communicate. That's handy. See if she'll talk to the transmission. Should be the same computer, right? Unable to communicate. Well, oops. Let's go see if we can read data. Here the old Altel clicking away up there. See if it's flashing or anything. Unable to communicate. Oh man, this is just going to be the icing on the cake for the day I've had. Let's just try generic OBD2 just for grins and giggles. I've had a horrible day, just FYI, so if this video is, if I sound a little crabby, I'm a little crabby. Alright, so we can read generic data. I don't know why we couldn't read OEM. Let's see. We have a code for throttle position, sensor switch low, cylinder 4 misfire, and a pending idle air control higher than expected. Alright, and I don't know if the throttle position code was set by him by having it unplugged. Hard to say. We'll just kind of look at some data here before we figure out why we can't read OEM data. So let's see. Absolute throttle position. Where are you, fella? So there's throttle position up to 100%. Try to back off it steady. Okay, so I'm going to assume that code perhaps is from something that he has done. Battery's kind of weak. Alright, so throttle position still seems to work with the vehicle running. So that's good. I'm just going to turn the camera off. I'm going to try to pop back into OEM data. I want to make sure I entered this correctly. And through the miracle of modern television, we've switched scan tools. For whatever reason, I entered all the info correctly. I just double checked something with Altel. Whatever, we're just moving on. So I grabbed the Encore here, plug it in. So let's see, these are FailSense clear, mass airflow performance, throttle position. Like I said, I don't know how many of these are going to be because, you know, he was fiddling with stuff. Let's see. History codes. Let's just see what's current. So current codes are the Misfire, the PO300, idle air control, you know, high RPM basically, and electronic brake control module, diagnostic trouble code detected rough road. So those are the codes that we have in it currently. I see the battery in this truck is nuked. No big surprise there. Let's just pop in the data stream. Hopefully. Oh. I'm just kind of curious to see what it's saying as far as misfire, because out of the tailpipe I don't 100% hear it. I mean, I feel the truck shaking and all. So we'll just zip down through a data list here, see if anything stands out to us. Let's see. This airflow seems to be working. I just want to take and sort these by ABCs. That way all our misfire counters hopefully will be on the same screen. So it looks like cylinder number 3 is starting to count up on the misfires. Let me just take and drop it in gear here. There we go. Now we can feel the overall nothing. So yes, we definitely have a cylinder that is dead right now. You can probably see by the way the camera's shaking. Cylinder number 4. That appears to be our dead one. Alright, so we have a misfire. Does that have anything to do with our fast idle? I don't know. I don't know any more than what you guys know. We're just gathering data this time. Alright, so definitely cylinder number 4 is misfiring. We will take and pop back out of here. We're going to go to our fuel trim data. See if we see anything there. Currently it appears to be idling correctly. But according to our note, it screws up when it warms up. Alright, so it looks like our distributor's in correctly. Fuel trim is not enabled, so where fuel trims are going to be irrelevant. Fuel trim on bank 2 is high, so that engine, or that side of the engine, is running lean, and that is also the side we have the misfire on, or at least when it last checked it. But you know, currently the fuel trims are not enabled, so we can't count on those readings, and that's, you know, likely due to the misfire. Sorry to bore you with this, but I'm just trying to Alright, so the fuel trims are active, but bank 2 obviously making up for that misfire over there. Well, in my opinion, before we track down anything with idle, we gotta, you know, get this thing running decent. So let's track down the number 4 misfire first. So that should be passenger side bank, second cylinder back, right? So that's how Chevys are, 1357 down the driver's side, 2468 down the passenger side. I say we go with that first. You know, like I say, whether it's, you know, same problem or not, I don't know. So fuel trim's enabled, yes. We can see our fuel trim on that side is super high, so 20% almost. So I'm thinking we're going to find pirate air or, you know, injector, something like that, based on the data that we gathered. So let's check out the misfire before we get too far. Oh, baby, Vortec. Now let's grab a flashlight. Just visual inspection here real quick. Well, he said he put new plugs in it. Of course. So we can assume it probably has spark, but you know what? Never assume, okay? That would get you. So let's just start with basics. You know, spark, all that stuff. You can see it does have throttle position sensor on it, brand new idle air control valve, just like he stated. So very interesting. Single cylinder misfire. Just look at that intake. These engines are pretty notorious for intake leaks. It'd have to be a pretty massive leak. But let's just do our normal routine so we don't get burned. first thing I'm going to do, unplug the coil. I just want to crank it over. I want to see what the engine sounds like, because it's kind of peculiar. When I stab the throttle, I don't really hear the misfire, you know, when it revs up. So I'm curious, you know, is this low cylinder contribution, you know, low compression. So let's just crank it, have a listen to it. We don't really have to do relative compression unless it sounds like we need to do it. So hopefully that makes sense. Sounded pretty normal, a lot of shaking going on though. I hope I don't get burned skipping relative compression. Let's just check, make sure it has spark. I want to get burned, baby. There we go. So it's safe to say that there is spark available for the spark plug. Does it mean the spark plug's good? No. Based on the misfire, based on the fuel trims, I'm going to assume this is going to be a fuel misfire. What do you want to do? Avoca. Let's see. I'm not 100% on the fact that, you know, that cylinder is not low. There is a lot of shaking when we're doing the cranking. For what it's worth, we can just yank that plug out real quick, just do a quick compression test on it. That tells the cylinder's ability to seal, not to breathe. So, for example, if, you know, let's say the exhaust rocker arm was missing, we're still going to have really good compression. So always keep that in mind. You guys probably can't see very well, but see if I can get down in here easily enough. Everybody always wants to see the spark plug anyways. That's what I've noticed in my video. Right? Look at the spark plug. So let's look at the spark plug. There, we're looking at the spark plug. What do we notice? What the thunder is this over here? Must be this fella's ratchet. I can't imagine a copper pipe helps too much, but put that right back where we found it. We're going to look at the spark plug. This spark plug is soaking wet, like literally dripping wet. Like made my finger wet. That's its level of wetness. And it's pure white. It smells like straight oil. Yeah, that is oil. That is gear oil, to be specific. That's really bizarre. What is that? Oh, smell that. Yeah, that is straight gear oil, am I right? Why would it smell like gear oil? That's very peculiar. What's this smell like? That smells like engine oil. Okay. Maybe he put gear oil on the threads instead of anti-seize or something, perhaps? I don't know. Let's grab a compression tester. Yeah, that is definitely gear oil. I know that smell. And Mrs. O hates that smell. If I come home, if I took a gear oil bath, whew, that'd keep the ladies away. Or lady in my case. Let's see, screw a compression hose in there. We'll unplug the coil again and just, hopefully we got enough battery to crank this little guy over. Alright. What a day. Crappiest day. Not the crappiest, but it's a pretty crappy day. Alright, there's our compression gauge. We'll set that there. We'll unplug the coil. Alright, we'll hold it full throttle and go crank it. Fire hole! How many hundreds do we have? 190 ish. So she's pumping, she's sealing. 185, 190, whatever. It's good enough. So it appears our engine can seal. We have compression. We have spark available at the spark plug. So far so good. It does not confirm the engine's ability to breathe, nor does it confirm that the spark plug is any good. Quick and dirty, we're just going to take number 2, swap it with number 4, and then if our misfire is still there, then we'll verify, fuel delivery to that cylinder, just to be, certain. And the only reason we're doing this is because it's very easy to do on this engine. Plugs are very accessible, so there's no sense in getting, too carried away. Plus, I'm kind of curious to see if this plug also smells like gear oil. I'm just wondering if that's what he used for, for lube, for putting the plugs in. That would be my guess, but. We'll find out here shortly. Show me the spark plug. That's what they say. There's the other spark plug. I don't know if that's going to focus. That one there too is, yeah, that is completely soaked with gear oil. So he used gear oil for lube. So that answers that question. The age-old question as to why does my spark plug smell like gear oil? Well, because that's what he used to put it in. Got to use something, right? That's what he had available. So now I'm going to take number 2 and put it in the number 4 hole. I'll get these snugged up, we'll fire it back up, see if anything has changed. If not, we're going to assume that the cylinder is breathing. These engines aren't really notorious for, cam failure and, stuff on a regular basis, I would say. I mean, it's a Chevy 350. At some point, everything has failed on it. And I don't mean that in a negative, hating Chevy kind of way. I'm just saying, in general, these things don't come in with the cams wiped out of them and rocker arms blown off and bent push rods, and this is a pretty good engine. Our spark plugs are switched. Let's take and fire it up. Got a plug in the coil, yeah. Don't worry, folks, amateur hour here at SMA. Ooh, hear that Chevy thunder? We'll go back to Misfire. We'll let this load up. See what the problem is. Let's miss history. Misfire cylinder history. I never scrolled. Let's see, Misfire current. Who's the counter? Number 4. Number 4 is still the counter, so problem stayed there. Perfect. And on to step 2. I'm going to grab a fuel pressure gauge here. And I believe that we can do an injector balance test right from our scan tool, assuming it works, where we can go through and pulse. We're going to spray a little gas here. Oh man, I got a cut on this finger too. I'm going to find it here in about a second. We can pulse each injector and see how much fuel it flows in comparison to the other injectors. So we're going to hook up a gauge. Jump down. Now, without a scan tool, you can use a dedicated injector pulse tester. And I did have a viewer ask me one time, kind of made a remark as to how would you do it on these central port injections, so the CPI injections, the spider injectors they call them. It's very easy. You pull the connector off, and there's 2 pins for each injector, so you just do it the same. You just take the connector off, stick your injector test tool. You have to figure out which 2 pins go to which injectors, but there's going to be matched pairs of pins per injector. So just keep that in mind. That probably doesn't make any sense, but if you don't have a scan tool, but you have a injector test tool, which are pretty inexpensive, That's how you do it. Unplug the connector. I got the fuel pressure gauge out there under the hood, and I can see it from here. We're at about 59 psi. So we want to pop back out of here. We want to go to, you know, special tests or whatever they, yeah, special tests, I was going to say. We want to select the PCM and see if there's an injector balance test. There should be. Fuel gauge, fuel system, fuel injector, fuel trim enabled, fuel injector balance. Look at that. I wasn't lying to you. So what this is going to do, it's going to cycle the fuel pump each time. It's going to tell us to hook up a fuel gauge. Each injector tests only once per ignition cycle. And then we're going to record the amount of pressure. So, you know, we're static pressure, 58 pounds. It's going to test injectors sequentially, I imagine. We're going to see the amount of drop per injector. We're going to write it on a piece of paper so we don't forget. And then we can determine, you know, is the injector flowing fuel? Let's see. So we'll go injector 1. Oh, okay. So we hit the injector button down here. It toggles them. I'll tell you what, let's just start right with what we think is going to be the ugly number 4. We're going to hit test. It's priming the fuel system, which I do not hear it priming. Oh, okay, there. Now it's priming. We're at 60 psi. Record fuel pressure. Oh, okay. I'm sitting out here looking at the gauge like a ding dong. Continue. Do you want to pulse the injector? Oh, yeah, of course we do. Why are you asking me silly questions? Record fuel pressure drop for injector. And it is down to 51 psi. We hit continue. I will tell you right now, folks, that is bad. So we're going to put number 4 here on our paper. Number 4, start with 60, and then I went to 51. So that puts our delta at 9 psi. That right there is no good. And then, just for grins and giggles, I'm going to show you, I will show you the gauge here. We've done this on lots. Let's go back. We'll start at number 1. I just needed an answer right away. We're going to go test, priming fuel system. You should hear the pump kick on. Pump kicked on. Alright, I'm going to show you my gauge. We're going to have to kind of hurry because somebody just pulled in, even though it's after hours, so we're going to come knocking. Let's hit continue. Do you want a pulse injector? Yes. Record pressure drop. That was only 50 psi. That's very interesting. Sweater people are going to make me go crazy. So lady, she just wanted to know if I would do anything she wanted so I could put a sticker on her car because her light's finally out. And I just had another guy stopping on bicycle ask me if I had any cigarettes. Anywho, where were we? I'm going to kill somebody today. I ran through all 8 injectors, and to my surprise, there is only 9 psi drop. And it really has me concerned. Not that I'm doubting the Encore, but that's really bizarre to me. Typically, these injector pulse tests on these injectors, I imagine this just does it the same as, you know, Snap-on or anybody would. It usually drops substantially more, you know, per pulse. Of course, that's going to depend on how long it holds the injector open, and I don't know if that's predetermined in the tool or if that's, you know, or what it is. So that has me a little concerned. Every single one of them was exactly the same. Well, this guy was in here begging me for cigarettes. I did take and start it and run it and bring the RPMs up high, and that bank continues to stay low the entire time, or it continues to make up for a lean condition. Fuel trim numbers stay high. So that's pretty interesting. You know, we know that the cylinder seals. We know that we have spark. You know, we've swapped the spark plugs. We know we have spark available at the spark plug. And the best that we can determine from here, the injector on that cylinder is flowing. So do we have a massive, you know, intake leak there causing that cylinder to do what it's doing? That is my next assumption. Let's move on. I gotta be honest, I'm really struggling today, folks. Mostly with kindness and mercy. Still. Oh, that's handy. I was just going to say, you got to pull these off because using the you know, easy intake in here, these Chevys never seal around this O-ring. It's usually, you know, pretty rock hard. So we're going to have to try to, you know, cap this little guy off and smoke it another way. So, but yeah, I mean, it's missing the wing nut. Awesome. Curiosity has the best of me. Just wondering if that would slip past the throttle plate, and it will not, and it will not pump up to there because it's going to pump up out here. Okay, just curious. I thought I had a cup that would fit it, and I do not, so I'm just also curious about this. Is that the right size? Oh, Chevy, you're going to do it, ain't you? Ah, I bet if we open her up a little, she will. Maybe that size will fit. Look at that, man. It's going to be Free Tip Friday on a Monday. If you want to smoke test your Chevy, let's just kind of open up this a little bit more. She going to fit. Trust me. Oh, look at that. You fancy pants guy, you. Now, we can puff her up in the hole. We'll smoke test this intake. We could have just taped it off, but I really wanted to use the easy intake because it's fun. I can't give that tip. Claim that one to be grandma's, I guess. That's my own invention. Adapt, improvise, and overcome. That's what Hannah always tells me. So we're going to hook up the Ready smoker. Get her fog in here. Oops, I had to turn on the air gauge. Hey, there we go. Now she's blowing. I'll let this thing start blowing plumes of smoke, and then we'll see if we have an intake leak. This is kind of bizarre. I shouldn't even be here working on cars and not have a good attitude right now. So I am starting to see some smoke down here on the passenger side. Blow some of the chunks out of here. Grab my wet line, we're power washing at the same time. The only hose in the shop that does not have a drip leg on it. Oh baby, we're getting some smoke now. Let me get something to plug off this vent here. Fit in there, fella. Like a glove. Oh, she's a smoking now. Oh yeah, I think that whole intake's blown right out of it. Crap, it's I just trying to make sure that smoke is coming from down low. It almost looked like it was blown right out of the bottom of this, where the purge mounts, but that's impossible. Just the way it's curling up around there. She's smoking like Cheech and Chong now. I'd say it's safe to make the call. Ding dong, you should have sprayed it with brake clean back when we were out here running the first 5 seconds. But I didn't. I think this one's leaking bad enough. We can get a little soapy water on there. Just in case you're not, hey, it's that guy. Just in case it's not, you know, good enough seeing the smoke. But it clearly is smoking. We got bubbles down here, do we? Uh-oh, I think all my water's disappearing. It's actually plugging up my leak. Now I'll just move the leak down further. It's just going to the next easiest spot to get out, which is, oh, you can hear it sizzling. Needless to say, it's leaking bad. There we go, now it's back. Now she's back to blowing again. I got leaking down here. Oh, it's leaking out of the leaking out of the valve cover bolt there or something. It'd be understandable, but there's really No sense in going any further than we are right now. It is obviously blown out of the intake gasket really bad. Well, it is what it is. I said that at the beginning, that these are pretty notorious for that. However, we just stuck to our guns. We got much time into it. It's fuel pressure, compression, spark. I thought for sure we were going to find a crappy injector. I was wrong. And you can actually hear it hissing out of there so bad, especially up here in the front corner. Oh, the smoke turned off. That's why it's getting less. That's why I thought it was plugging my leak. I'll get the camera down there, see if you guys can hear it sizzling. Smoke machine has a fan on it, so that's probably all you hear right now, besides my annoying voice. Right, we'll see if you can hear it hissing down there. Hopefully. If not, I mean, you can clearly see it smoking. Alright, we've wasted too much time. Let's make the call. Cigarette guy just came back. Let's see. So let's shut this off. Shut down the smoke. We all got to learn a little something. Don't work after hours with doors open. That's number one. Oh man. We learned that the ready smoke still smokes. The easy intake, how to adapt it to your Chevy CPI. Multiple ways to do this. You do not need this if you're curious about that. Ways I've done it in the past. The classic sandwich baggie, you know, over the throttle body, then put the throttle body lid back on it, you know, seal it off, then introduce smoke, you know, through the, you know, PCV, brake booster hose, wherever. As long as you can seal it off. Just a new to me tool. And it makes this job very handy if you have a smoke machine. Well, that's a pretty good tip right there. I must say so myself. Not tooting my own horn, but I'll have to remember that one. So we'll put that back, get things back on it. This guy does not want me to fix the car. He just wanted it diagnosed only. He is a DIYer, as you can tell by the, you know, part swapping that has happened. A couple things I'll remark on this. I've done other Chevy intake leak videos. Typically, they're not cylinder specific. So if people are ragging on me, why didn't I, you know, douche it with brake clean right from the get-go? Yeah, if I was seeing that whole bank, you know, misfiring, you know, perhaps I would have. Probably, it's probably in the misfire history, it probably is that whole bank. I didn't pay that close attention, but the fact that it was just a dead single cylinder miss is the reason I took the route that I did. You know, compression spark, injector drop. I was assuming we were going to find an injector. However, you know, we don't have much time into it. Whatever time we got, a half hour, whatever it was. And we've got our answer. There is no sense at this point in looking at the fast idle or anything else until this intake manifold gasket is fixed. Once that's fixed, if the high idle concern remains, then we can move along. But you'll just be going around in circles if you try to, you know, diagnose a problem, any kind of drivability problem, with an intake gasket that's blown out that bad. And the other thing I guess I was going to get at, 90% of these Chevys that leak on the intake, as soon as the engine warms up, that leak seals right up tight. You got no chance of smoke testing it. You can only do it cold. I did a video on that. I'll put a link, you know, maybe up on the screen, wherever they pop up, maybe in the description. So that's it. We're done. We're leaving. So we'll leave it at that. I'm going to recommend to him to replace the intake gaskets first, as we've already discovered. Also, the O-ring on the top of the throttle body, and then get that wing nut put back on there. That will cause mass airflow performance codes and allow pirate air, like a pirate, in through that O-ring and skew your fuel trims and get everything screwed up there. That is critical, that that plastic, you know, adapter on top of the throttle body is critical that it seals. It has to seal. You have to have a good O-ring in there. If you own a General Motors with this, you know, CPI, just put a little, you know, silicone grease on that O-ring, keep it malleable, keep it sealing. You know, I find that they, you know, are cracked, broke, or missing a lot, and it really messes up fuel trims. So we'll leave it at that. Let me know what you think down in the comment box below. I know my attitude wasn't greatest in this video, but it is what it is. We're gonna keep moving. Go down there, click subscribe, find us on Patreon, all that business. And just remember, viewers, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.